Seidel is in northeastern Texas right now on the border of Arkansas. Mike, you mentioned something earlier. It's like champagne powder where you are in the south. This is something we're more accustomed to seeing in the Rockies, right, at the ski resorts.
Exactly. Good day for some cross-country skiing here in Texas, in Texarkana. We've got a lot more snow to come. We'll time it out for you and talk about the ice potential south of here next on the Weather Channel.
Seidel is in northeastern Texas right now on the border of Arkansas. Mike, you mentioned something earlier. It's like champagne powder where you are in the south. This is something we're more accustomed to seeing in the Rockies, right, at the ski resorts.
Exactly. Good day for some cross-country skiing here in Texas, in Texarkana. We've got a lot more snow to come. We'll time it out for you and talk about the ice potential south of here next on the Weather Channel.
All right, deep in the heart of the South this morning, in the middle of all this ice, Mike Seidel in Texarkana, Texas. Mike, precipitation types. Go through it for us. What you're dealing with there.
It's all snow, Jim. We're right around 20 degrees, and we've just seen the plows go back up the interstate. There's a plow going now towards Dallas, westbound, but few and far between as the snow continues to add up. And we talked to some locals yesterday here in Texarkana about the extended bitter cold and snow combined that they have never seen before in their lifetimes.
We're not used to it, so it kind of just shuts the entire town down. The city just stays home.
We've just been trying to make the best of it. Haven't been able to go out anywhere or anything, so me and my brother have tried to play tackle football in the snow. Got a little cold, but had fun.
Yeah, they don't often see this. So, it does snow here. They average 2.7 inches a season. But last storm on Monday, they had 6 to 8. And today we may see another 6 inches of snow, Kelly. Now, I did check the snowfall climatology for Texarkana. It's incomplete from the late 1800s. But their snowiest season I could find was 13.9. And they may do that in just 3-4 days alone this week. Kelly?
Yeah. This is one of those winters we may never, forget about. That's
Good morning. Welcome back to the Weather Channel. Continuing coverage of Winter Storm Viola. They just keep coming and coming. This is the second snowstorm in 3 days here in the Arklatex. We're in Texarkana on the Texas side. Behind me is Interstate 30. Those cars going that way are going towards Little Rock. Westbound, it's over towards Dallas-Fort Worth. And it's going to be a snowy day. Now 30 goes north and east up towards Little Rock. We're going to have 4 or 5 inches of snow here, 4 to 6 inches here. But really the other story, and the story that's had the most impact, I think, in Texas has been the cold weather. Right now, unofficially, we've got 18 degrees. The record low today is 20. So we're, with this thermometer, we've broken the record for today. Our high today will be 25. Let me put that in perspective. The average high today in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and the Twin Cities is 29. So it's going to be another day like yesterday where it's going to be colder than it should be up there in Minnesota. Snow continues through this afternoon, winds down this evening. We're expecting another 4 to 6. Maybe we got a few more inches off to our east and north and central and south central Arkansas. Now, as you get down towards I-20, we're going to have some warm air coming aloft. Already in Shreveport, we've had sleet mixing in with the snow. They'll likely go to freezing rain. And that I-20 corridor and a little south of there till you get down to where it's above freezing, that's where we run the risk of as much as a half an inch of ice, maybe a little bit more, and that could be a problem, Kelly, with power outages. But just amazing how strong this Arctic air mass is, one for the ages. Here it's the coldest since 1989, that Christmas outbreak. For many, it goes back even farther, like Jim mentioned in Dallas. It hasn't been that cold in 70 years, and it hasn't been colder than that since 1899. So that puts it really in perspective of how deep this cold area is.
Yeah, very much below. We should be in the upper 60s or upper 50s, low 60s, somewhere around there.
Right.
Yeah.
59 today is the average high. The record high today is 82.
Okay.
That would
we're
be
nowhere
nice.
near that. No, right? People are looking forward to that, and even just turning the calendar into March. And Mike Seidel in northeastern Texas right now on the border of Arkansas. Mike, you've been dealing with that light, fluffy, powdery snow out there. I'm wondering, though, how are the roadways? And, of course, are the authorities there also telling people to stay off the roads?
They are. The roads are, awful. I mean, they're passable, but it's 20 degrees right now. That's the record low for today. We are 20 degrees warmer than yesterday morning, if that makes you feel any better. Yesterday, 1 below zero, the coldest in at least 32 years, back to Christmas of '89. This is I-30 traffic going away from me, away from the cameras, heading towards Little Rock. The interstate is snow-packed, snow-covered. Overnight, we had 3 tractor trailers flip over, but they have cleared those, so the interstate is open. Let me show you the Charles Peak video from State Line Avenue, Texarkana. Part of it is in Texas, part of it is in Arkansas. What side of the road do you think has been cleared? That is the Arkansas side of State Line Avenue that has been cleared. The Texas side is snow-packed and snow-covered. So that's how it works here in Texarkana. In fact, we came up from Shreveport yesterday on 49. We got on the last exit in Louisiana. That's where they opened it up. And as soon as we got into Arkansas, a few miles up the road, no problems. Just a little bit of snow left on the road. Look on the radar now. We look upstream, and you can see some heavier snow headed our way. It's light right now, but we will be snowing harder through the morning hours, maybe an inch an hour. So we're looking for a storm total of 5 to 7 inches here in Arklatex. Down in Shreveport, the I-20 corridor, already in Shreveport now has gone over to sleet. So they had snow, then snow and sleet, now sleet. They'll go over to freezing rain. We'll watch that for ice accretions, Kelly, and power outages. But another day of bitter cold here, mid-20s. The average high is around 60. Let's go back to Jim Cantori. Jim, we'll finally get to thaw out over the weekend, but just incredible. The combination of 2 back-to-back fluff factor snowstorms and temperatures that just are unimaginable for 5, 6, 7 straight days.
Mike, this is the first time I've been in one city for 4 days.
All right, Mike Seidel in northeastern Texas right now at the border of Arkansas. We're there. So far, it's been just a light, fluffy snow, right, Mike?
Yes, just fluffy snow, but another bitterly cold day. In perspective, in Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth, they've only had 2 hours above freezing since last Tuesday. So 9 days and only 2 hours above freezing on Saturday at 33 degrees. It's been very cold here, too. We'll run down how much more snow we get and time out when it finally starts to thaw out next here on the Weather Channel.
All right, it's all snow in Texarkana, Texas. Mike Seidel, what are you expecting there? Accumulation-wise, and it's kind of nice getting precipitation because at least the temperatures come up a little bit.
Indeed, we don't have the clear skies, light wind, radiational effect, Jim. Yesterday morning, you were 2 below, we were 1 below zero. So it was cold. Today, amazingly, it's around 20, so it feels a little bit warmer. We don't have much of a wind chill. It's about 10, but the snow continues to come down. And in Texas, we still have nearly 3 million customers without power, and they're urging people to conserve energy.
Be sure to conserve as much electricity as possible, which is the warnings that we've received through SWEPCO, our local energy supplier. You know, you want to keep it below 68 or 67. If you have gas logs, you know, put that on. If you have actual firewood, light it up. We just want to make sure that we're conserving energy as much as possible, but also being prepared with the weather in terms of clothing that you have, and always keep your pets inside.
And they're also telling you that once your power comes back on, just conserve. Don't turn everything back on and just go, you know, full steam ahead, because that's not what you want to do. But keep the thermostat, Kelly, at 68. That's what I do. But my wife, Christina, thinks anything below 60 is cold, so I sometimes have to turn it up a few more notches. But 68 is really comfortable, I think. But,
yeah,
you know, I'm standing out in this all year, so. Wow.
But yeah, I mean,
wow.
67.
Nice.
Yeah.
Way to go.
But I woke up this morning and the temperature in the house was in the 50s, so I got to get the heat checked out. So I feel for the people in Texas. We're kind of going through that here as well. But yeah, this is just brutal cold all over the south and now into the northeast as well.
Good morning from Texarkana, Texas. You're looking at Charles Peak's driving shot. The guy drives everywhere for us and does a bang-up job. And you can see the road conditions this morning. He's not on the interstate yet. He's going to get on I-30 and drive east towards Little Rock. But look at the road. Snow-packed, snow-covered. The snow intensity will be picking up in the next several hours. Over the next several hours, we're going to pick up at least another 2 or 3 inches of snow based on the radar. But you get an idea of what the roads are like across this whole area, across many, many counties in 4 to 5 states, especially in these areas in Texas and Louisiana where they have no snowplows. Shreveport right now is going over to all sleet, eventually to freezing rain. We'll keep an eye on that I-20 corridor, not only in Louisiana, but we've talked about Austin this morning, Jim has, and also in the Mississippi for a lot of ice, and then the potential for some really bad ice in the I-85 corridor back on the other side of the Appalachians. But back here, we're at 18 degrees. We're going no higher than the mid-20s today. That's 35 degrees below average. Right now, we're already breaking the record for this morning. Yesterday, we set a record low and a record low max. Temperatures in the morning were at 1 below zero. It's the coldest they've seen since Christmas of '89. And I think I checked the fourth coldest day on record since the 1800s. And it's this long-term Arctic air mass that has settled over the Mid-South and Texas that is causing most of the issues. Yes, the roads are not great, but it's really the impacts where we have lost power, the rolling blackouts in Texas, and people are trying to stay warm. Again, if you're going to you have to use your car, don't do it in the garage. Do not do it in the garage. Go outside and try to find a place where you're blocked from the wind. Try to keep the car on for 20 minutes and then turn it off for 20 minutes. That's the best way to go about that. And hopefully we'll get the power back on as quickly as they can. But the problem is it's been so cold, they've not been able to generate electricity via natural gas or coal. They're hoping to get more wind and solar power back online in the next couple of days. And Kelly, gosh, I can't even imagine losing my heat for, 2 or 3 days. And that's what some folks have already lost their heat for over 48 hours.
And then losing water on top of that in some cases, too, due to the very low water pressure that we're seeing in so many cities. But, yeah, very stressful time for sure. And the same rule applies to your generators as much. Mike Seidel's in Northeast Texas right now on the border of Arkansas. Mike, I tell you what, the roads have not been good there. I was watching the shot with Charles Peak, that driving shot. I'm getting anxiety just looking at that. And it just points out one of the things you have to do is keep your lights on, too, so other people can see you, and just really take it slow if you have to be out there at all.
Especially right now, the snow intensity is picking up as expected. We've been watching the radar upstream southwest of here in Texas, and it is now coming to fruition. The visibility is still more than a mile, but it's snowing harder, and it will snow harder than this. This is I-30, and the traffic going that way is going west towards Dallas. But we want to show you I-49. Charles Peak is on I-49, doing about 30 miles an hour. That's about it. Now, the snow is powdery, so in some areas you can actually see the tracks on the road. You can actually see the asphalt or concrete, but by and large, everything is snowpacked, snow covered. And with the intensity picking up, even with daylight and temperatures in the upper teens, we're at record cold this morning. And the high today should be about 60. Here comes a car up the frontage road. You can see about 20 miles an hour. 15 to 20 miles an hour. That's a safe speed at this point. So radar shows the heavier snow coming this way. By the way, Shreveport now, as of the top of the hour, has gone from sleet to freezing rain as expected. From here on out, it's all freezing rain. Hopefully we can keep the accretions down, but we could get more than a half an inch, and that means power outages. Otherwise, for us up here in this part of the Arklatex, it's going to be primarily all snow. We're looking for anywhere from 5 to 7 to 8 inches as you go into central and south central Arkansas, maybe 9 or 10 inches on top of what already fell. 2 days ago, we had 6 to 8 inches here. They average under 3 a whole season. This could easily be the snowiest season on record, although, as I mentioned earlier, the snowfall climatology going back to the late 1800s is incomplete. The snowiest season I could find was 13 and change. Temperatures today, mid-20s, tonight, mid-teens. The next couple of days will get up close to and maybe a little bit above freezing, Jim. But it only goes up above freezing for a few hours, then it's back below freezing. It's going to be late in the weekend till we can break this fall freeze cycle. And then next week, it's safely back in the 50s and 60s. But, Jim, it's just incredible how long this cold has lasted. I mentioned earlier, the average high today in Minneapolis, St. Paul is 29. We won't even get that warm here in Texas.
Mike, with the exception of, I think, 2 hours here in Dallas, if you just take those out of it, we would, and let's say they were below freezing, we would be on hour 216 right now here in Dallas. All right, and we are going to stay that way through tomorrow afternoon. We may get above freezing a little bit tomorrow afternoon. So just incredible. You're right. Do they get that way in Texarkana, Texas? Let's bring in meteorologist Mike Seidel to talk about that. Mike, precipitation types, we've been talking to you most of the morning, has been snow. Do you think you mix or go over to freezing rain at some point, if not already?
I do not think we'll do that. No, I don't think we'll do that in Texarkana, looking at those 850 forecast temperatures. But again, think about this. We're in Texas. This is the second snowstorm in 3 days. It's powder. And look at this. This is I-30. That truck is eastbound towards Little Rock. On the right side of the road, you can see some of the asphalt because the snow is so fluffy and so powdery, it's being blown off the road by the traffic. And up here, this is how they take care of snow in Texas. We've got a brush and we've got a front-end loader backhoe. Here comes the brush, the snow brush, up the overpass over I-30. So using a snow brush, typically we see those up north on sidewalks and maybe small areas, but not on a major road. So there goes the brush. Notice how powdery the snow is, which is great. It's not heavy and dense, and it brushes and blows pretty good. Thankfully, we don't have a whole lot of wind. And there's the front-end loader. What he's doing is grabbing the snow, and then he's throwing it over here on this walkway. Let's go, Austin Anderson, let's go over here and show him the interstate. Not a lot of traffic right now. There goes another semi up the interstate. Say he's about 35 or 40 miles an hour. Cars coming this way going towards Dallas, heading towards where Jim Cantori is. Visibility has come now down to about 1.5 miles, so this is about as hard as it snowed. But you see on radar that we've got heavier snow coming in, much like we saw in West Monroe 2 days ago. We're looking for 4 to 6, some spots maybe 8 inches of snow on top of what we had. And today's high will be in the mid-20s. It should be around 60. So another incredible day of extreme weather and week of extreme weather here in the Mid-South. So once again, just incredible what we're seeing here in Texarkana, Texas. Let's go back to...
I'll take it, Mike.
Who are we going back to?
Kelly. Me.
Kelly. Let's go back to Kelly. Kelly
right,
Cass in the studio. Kelly?
We need to talk about the warm side.
You're looking at Chicagoland, where they set a record now, 9 days in a row of snow falling, 16 inches at O'Hare. It is piled up everywhere. And as you can imagine, if it's 18 in Texas, it's cold up there, and even colder. There's no melting. So they're trying to find areas and places to put it. And you may get some more snow. We've got another storm timed out on Sunday. We'll see how much actually falls. It looks like more of a 3 or 4 or 5 incher at this point, but we're still a few days off. Meanwhile, kids, we'll go back to in-person learning today, Chicago Public Schools. We're back out here in Texarkana, Texas, the second snowstorm in 3 days in the south, and it is really coming down now. We're down to about 1/2 mile visibility. This is Interstate 30. We're looking towards Dallas-Fort Worth. You can see one lane, the right side of each direction. You can see the lane because the snow is so darn fluffy. That's the other thing. It's so cold, 18, that the snow is, it's like champagne powder. It's just powder, and we've got the snow brush here. It's able to brush it off the road very quickly. Now, the reason they're going back and forth on this bridge is taken care of by the city of Texarkana, Texas, and they're keeping this open because there's a hospital just down the road here. So that's why they're going back and forth continuously through the snowstorm. Look at these trucks, these 2 semis kind of racing down the highway here. Looks like they're doing about 50, 55 miles an hour. That's pretty fast. We had 3 turnover in this area overnight. They've been gotten out of the way. The road is open, but you can see the headlights coming in the distance. Alex, the visibility is down, as I said, about 1/2 mile or so. And at 18, as dry as the snow can get, considering that we're in Texas, and today's high mid-20s, a day where we should be out in the sun and in the low 60s. By the way, if you want to warm up, consider the record high today is in the low 80s. So that puts it in perspective.
Wow. That is That's just incredible to think about what it could potentially be at this time of the year. Yeah, just amazing to think that if you didn't tell us where you were, Mike, we would think you were somewhere up in maybe Minnesota or North Dakota. Just really amazing.
Yes.
Really amazing.
Right.
All right, thanks,
Incredible.
Mike. We'll check back with you in a bit. All right, this.
Okay, when it gets this cold, it's a great experiment to throw the hot, boiling water in the air, and that's what they did in Little Rock, Arkansas yesterday, where the temperature broke down to a frigid 1 below zero. We often see this done in Minnesota and, you know, up north, but in Little Rock, my gosh, Fayetteville, Arkansas, yesterday morning was 20 below zero, coldest on record. It's never been that cold in New York and Philadelphia. How about this, though? We're in Texarkana, Texas, and this is Interstate 30. Does it look like Interstate 30? No, it looks more like I-90 through the Dakotas or the New York State Thruway outside of Buffalo. It's 18 degrees. We're snowing at about a half an inch or so an hour. It's powdery snow, as you can imagine, and we're expecting another half a foot of snow on top of the half a foot we had Sunday night and Monday. So we got 2 back-to-back snowstorms in 3 to 4 days. Now, I don't know about the stats here, but I did check Shreveport, and it was 43 years since the last time they had back-to-back storms of an inch or more. So this is really incredible. You talk about the locals around here, not only the snow, but the extreme extended cold weather. Yesterday morning, it was 1 below zero, the coldest weather since the Christmas outbreak of 1989. Some areas, you go back, like in Dallas, you go back over 70 years to match a 2 below zero at DFW. But the snow will be running down that right on through this afternoon. It will end tonight mid-teens. Next couple of days, we'll probably get up to about 34, 35. So for a few hours above freezing, then we refreeze. It won't be until Sunday and Monday that we break the freeze-thaw cycle in this part of the Mid-South. So just incredible how cold it's been and how long it's been cold, Ray. And now, Ray, you grew up in upstate New York. Doesn't this look more like I-81 or I-90 to you than I-30 in Texas?
It does, Mike. It looks like going through some of those lake effect bands, getting into the Adirondacks. It's just unbelievable. And some of those record cold temperatures go back to the late 1800s in San Antonio, as I looked that up also. And
if you've been trying to fly over the past few days and had to connect or fly in out of Dallas or Houston or any of the airports, Austin, it has been almost impossible. We've got more ice in Austin. Now at Dallas, we've been getting freezing drizzle this morning after some snow overnight and early this morning. And this is Nashville, where they're cleaning up after the first storm. That was Uri. Now Viola's coming in. We've got a winter storm warning for the Music City for snow, sleet, and freezing rain. So the whole mixed bag. And there goes a plow right by us. I think that's the first real snow plow I've seen in 3 days between Louisiana and Texas. We had the front end loader, but you can see what happens when he goes by. It just turns into a big whiteout situation here off I-30. I-30 traffic, boy, the semis have really slowed down now. They're doing about 30 miles an hour, maybe 35. They are heading westbound towards Dallas. The other direction is eastbound. But just a really, really brutal cold day again today. We can't even get it up to freezing. Now, tomorrow and Friday, we may squeak above freezing for a few hours, but by and large, it's going to be below freezing most of the day. It's not going to be until Sunday and Monday that we break the freeze-thaw cycle, where temperatures overnight don't go down to freezing. But it is just unbelievable, again, that this is Texas, and we're getting our second big snowstorm, potentially 6 inches or more again in 3 days. Right now, 18 degrees. Keep in mind the average high is around 60 for this date. So we go back to Atlanta. We've got Alex, we've got Ray Stagich, we've got everybody watching it from the warm confines of the studio, guys.
Yeah, Mike,
Alex?
you said it. It is a far cry from what you are dealing with there. That is for sure. And, of course, we're going to be watching some of the impacts begin to work its way towards the north and the east now.
We're back out here on I-30 in Texarkana, Texas. and everything is snowpacked and snow covered. Here comes a convoy of tractor trailers. They're heading westbound towards Dallas, and you can see that they are slower than they were earlier. They're still doing probably about 40 miles an hour, and they're mostly in the right lane. That's the lane that's mostly visible because of the powdery snow. Traffic has been able to blow a lot of the snow off the interstate. But keep in mind, it's 18 degrees, no melting today. Not much melting Thursday and Friday because our temperatures are just going to squeak maybe above freezing for a couple of hours, and then we'll refreeze overnight. Tomorrow morning will be in the mid-teens, which is better than yesterday's 1 below zero, which is the coldest temperature since '89. So we've got another snowstorm, back-to-back, extended, bitter, dangerous, life-threatening cold. We've already lost lives to the cold, and so it just goes on and on. Locals here have never seen anything like this, where you have all this snow that doesn't go away like the next day. So Alex and Ray, this is certainly obviously one for the record books. We're setting record lows, we're setting record low maxes. Many areas here have only been above freezing for a few hours over the past 9 days.
Truly remarkable, Mike, no doubt about it. Yeah, well, folks will remember this for a long, long time.
Mike Seidel, I would not think that you are in Texarkana, Texas. This looks like something you'd see in the northeast New England or even out across Minnesota.
How about this for our location, Ray? How about Dunkirk? You know Dunkirk?
Yeah, Dunkirk, New York, lake effect.
Yeah. Or how about the Tug Hill Plateau, your favorite spot? But yeah, look at this. It's 1 inch or more an hour right now here in Texarkana. Traffic going that way is westbound towards, eastbound towards Little Rock. We're going to watch the semis go by. There's a whole gaggle of them coming in my direction. So we'll see how fast they're driving. Now they're probably doing, that's probably about 45, I think. But the right side of the road, you can actually see it because the snow's so powdery. The air created by the trucks going by blows the snow off the roadway. But still, you can see what most of the roads look like out here. This is the frontage road. Snowpacked, snow covered, hardly any plows. We've seen one plow go by this morning. That's it. Visibility now about 3/4 of a mile. So almost a moderate snowfall, and you can see on the radar this is going to continue for a while. It's even snowing harder just a little south of us. You can see the heavier band is just to our south. Then you get down to Shreveport, where we had snow and sleet to freezing rain. Then we had a mixture of snow, sleet, and freezing rain. I need to check to see what their latest OB says as far as what kind of precipitation they have. But when you get down towards I-20 and south of there, that's where you have the icing issues, much like we've seen around Austin and San Antonio in Texas. What a mess over there, because ice you just can't drive on, and then you run the risk of power outages. Over there, they've got millions, still just under 3 million customers without power. That's due to the fact that the bitter cold has cut the power generation capacity. Now, if you get an ice storm, then you're starting to talk about the infrastructure, trees and power lines coming down. So right here in Texarkana, it's just dry, powdery snow. Our second, looks like could be our second 6-inch snowfall in 3 days. They average 2.7 inches of snow a season. So you can put that in perspective. And remember, the average temperatures this week should be around 60. We can't even get much above about 35 degrees. In fact, we've been below freezing now for several days. Tomorrow and Friday, we may get above freezing just for a few hours, and that's going to be it. We're going to refreeze overnight, Alex, and that's going to continue. By Sunday and Monday, the big thaw. So, Alex, imagine all this snowfall starting to melt. It's not been plowed, so it's going to be just slush and the bright sunshine. It's just going to be a real mess here until it all melts away by, I'd say, maybe about Tuesday of next week.
We got a long ways to go. Mike,
We're back in the thick of it again here in Texarkana. The snow just won't stop. The temperature is 18 degrees. That's right, 18. Today we may get above 20. Compare that to Minneapolis, St. Paul. You know, up in Minnesota, the average high today is 29 degrees. So that puts it in perspective. You talk to the locals here, many of them have never been through something like this. They've been here 30, 40 years because we've got extended cold. There are places that have only been above freezing for a few hours over the past 9 days. And we're getting a second snowstorm in 3 days, and this one too may be another 6-inch snowstorm. I mean, to get 2 6-inch snowstorms in Philadelphia or New York or Boston or many areas within 3 days of each other is pretty unusual. The back-to-back storms. I-30, we have a few semis coming our way. Otherwise, the highway is virtually deserted. Very little car traffic today. Everybody's home. Just about everything is closed, as far as I can tell. Yesterday, we did see some restaurants open, but then again, yesterday it didn't snow. It snowed on Monday. So we'll see how things open up today. I'm looking at the Cracker Barrel. I'm looking at Olive Garden, these restaurants here, Steak and Shake. I don't see any action. That's not surprising. Folks here, are not used to this. If you don't have all-wheel drive, it's almost a prescription to spin out or get stuck. We talked to a state trooper earlier, the Arkansas State Police, and they said they've had numerous spin-outs and folks in ditches this morning. And I'm sure we'll have more, because if you don't slow down, if you don't have the proper drive, meaning all-wheel drive, which is still not an end-all, you're going to have problems getting around with this kind of weather. 15 again tonight, another record low max today. And it's really going to be Sunday and Monday before we really get out of the throes of this historic air mass and get a nice big fall and get back close to average by the middle of next week. But in the meantime, we're going to be locked in for the next several days. Roads will finally start to improve over the weekend.
Like you said, it's going to take some time. Folks just kind of hunker down and wait for the conditions to improve. But, yeah, we've got some time for that to happen. Mike.